bienvenue, hello, salam, shalom, good morning, good evening, even good evening because it's like 8 p.m. In Belgium. Well, thank you so much for joining this session about Teams and how you actually can master Microsoft Teams and become a rock star. I'm, as I mentioned, from Belgium, so my English is not that pretty well. So if you don't understand anything, yes, I can translate this into French. I can do it in Dutch. I can do it in Turkish. I can do it in any language you want. Just ask the question, and at the end of the session, I'll be glad to answer all of that. My Twitter handle is Gokan, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, please feel free. That's the single place where actually I share all the information I have about Teams and the Power Platform, sessions, good articles, everything you can find about me is on my Twitter. So yes, the classic slide about the sponsors, a big thanks to all of them, which I personally think, 2 or 3 of them. So they're sponsoring this event, so a huge thanks to all of them. And this is at the end of this session, so I'll just skip it and come here. So a few minutes of introduction about what Teams is. I'm pretty sure you all know, but it is essential to understand how the architecture is planned to actually know how the artifacts are working in the backstage. It is a correct statement to say that Microsoft Teams is one single capability, one experience, one hub, which actually uses every single service in Office 365. It uses SharePoint for storing the files. It can use the employee experience with Microsoft Viva, the connections, learnings, insights, and topics. You can extend it with intelligent applications built on PowerApps, the planner, chat, audio, video, even bring automation with Power Automate, and so on and so on. So every single artifact we have today in Office 365 can or could be potentially used by Microsoft Teams and is also somehow, you know it or you don't know it, is being used by Microsoft Teams. And this is like the most important slide you will get from me today. And I only have like 4 or 5 slides and all the rest will be real demos. But this is like the only slide and the most important slide you will get. This is how today Microsoft Teams is built. Today, I'm especially saying it today because this can change as we live in the cloud era, as we live in the modern era of Microsoft. Things are changing very well and very fast, but this is how it looks today. So let me grab my laser pointer and show that to you. Every single time on the left side when you create a team, well, the provisioning engine behind that will create an M365 group that will provision the 4 major collaboration artifacts we have today. It will create the SharePoint for the files, the OneNote for the notes, the Exchange mailbox for the conversation, chats, and so on, and also the Skype for Business artifacts. One of the major reasons why we still do have Skype for Business artifacts while provisioning a Teams is PowerShell. One big example today, if you want to manage voice on Teams in Office 365, well, you still have to use the modules of Skype. We don't have today one big modules that will actually empower all of them and use all of this in once, right? So this is like what Teams is doing, right? And in the groups, which is managed by Azure Active Directory, you can have your apps. And then on the right side, you have the extension of your experience. Like you get new modules every single year at Microsoft, like Viva, like the Power Platform, or even like Loop. All of those experiences are built first on Teams, and that will bring the collaboration on a next level. And finally, you have the application side where you can build your own application, which is then not on top of Office 365 because all of this is on top of 365. This is on top of Azure, where you have applications built on Azure being made for Teams where you can use Azure Microsoft Sentinel for KPIs, pipelines for monitoring application, Azure boards for getting your projects done in Teams, and so on and so on. So this is like today how all of this is being done at Microsoft Teams. This is a huge architecture. One of them, which I really don't personally like, but they had no other choice, is that every single channel you create today, which is a non-standard channel, well, it will have a SharePoint site. And it's not the same as the shared SharePoint site we have. Basically, what they want to do is that the owner that you see here, well, they don't want to the owners see the content of the private channel. So what they did is, okay, the owners can see the content from this, but the owners cannot see the content from this. So you get SharePoint sites. You get SharePoint sites for everything, for every channel. In a couple of months, I think it's going to be for March, we'll be getting the shared channels. And I think they will also benefit from those SharePoint sites as well. So SharePoint sites everywhere. Remember I told you that Teams is using every single artifact from the service? It is a correct statement to say that if one of those artifacts has an issue, well, Teams will have an issue. Like, can you imagine if SharePoint had an issue today? Well, a lot of stuff will be breakdown in Microsoft Teams because it relies a lot on SharePoint, a lot on Exchange, a lot on other stuff. Teams is a simple container that actually brings all the experiences into one single spot. And look to SharePoint as an example. All the team files, the lists, the channel recordings on your Teams, they're all on SharePoint. Your chat files, other recordings, Microsoft Loop components, the whiteboard, they're all in OneDrive, and so on and so on. As you can see, if SharePoint has an issue, that well, all of those major stacks will have an issue, and probably Teams will have an issue as well. To recap, and this is one of the marketing slides I love to use, is Microsoft Teams is a chat-based collaboration container, and always container, meant for a group of people within an organization to work closely and remotely. A new collaboration asset and capability being built for Microsoft Teams. Loop Viva lists home. And what's really phenomenal to understand, this is not the Outlook replacer. Today, if you don't have a 3G connection or a wireless connection, it is impossible to connect your Teams. However, with Outlook, yes, if you don't have a connection, you still can connect your Outlook and reply to your mails and work on top of that. Today, you have no connection, you don't get your Teams running up, and you cannot do a lot of. Microsoft is working to get on that, but it's still not the case. And yes, Outlook has 22 years experience, while Microsoft Teams is here, like I think, for 4 years. So it still needs to get some meat around the bone to actually be the Outlook replacer, because I know some companies have failed miserably by trying to replace Teams by replacing Outlook by Teams. Teams is complex, but if you look to the M365 world, it's actually more complex than you can imagine. And the Microsoft Teams era is only built herein. If we talk about M365, well, you can talk about the enterprise mobility and security. You can talk about the extension. You can talk about the common data service, about the Azure Active Directory, about the graph, Windows 10. Like, okay, Teams is important, but please don't get me wrong. Teams is not everything in the M365 world. Teams is important, it's huge, it has a lot of capabilities and experiences for us, but it's only a small piece of the whole big picture that we have in the world. Why was there a need? Because when Satya Nadella came to Microsoft, he just said, like, we need to bring a flexible, secure, and scalable spot or a hub for the digital transformation. We want people to get rid of their legacy applications and go to the cloud. And there was only one way to achieve this, is to provide them a spot where they can actually do work without thinking about the infrastructure. Think about certificates, FBA, VPN. Well, you don't care about that because it's done by Microsoft itself. Think about the offerings, about OneDrive, about the innovations, AI, Delve, about the transformations, PowerApps, Dataverse, about the security, Sentinel, Defender, or even like Loop and Viva. All of those stuff you will never get on premises, and Teams is the spot where actually all of that can work together. And that's the reason why I always say it's not mobile first, cloud first. It is actually Teams first and cloud first, at least from a collaboration perspective. And this is like the last slide before we deep dive into the demo. Teams, as I mentioned, is one of those tools that you can always use and refer as being the hub for collaboration, but Teams is not the answer for everything. And this is what I've seen in my humble career of consultant. When you have a project, you always have an idea, it becomes a draft, which becomes an asset, and then finally, which becomes a standard and everyone can use it. Those phases are actually divided in 3 major stacks: the me phase, the we, and then the all. The me phase is I have an idea, and that idea could be stored into an Outlook, into a OneDrive. I have the idea, I just have to write it down. Then that idea can be a draft, and that can be shared across a SharePoint site or a Teams team. The draft becomes an asset, then I can go to an org-wide team or a communication site, or again to a Microsoft Teams. And when the project is done and I'm proposing this to the whole organization, well, you can go to a SharePoint site, a WordPress site, or even Power Virtual Agents, and not anymore use Teams. So Teams is important for collaboration. And when we say collaboration, it's all about the we, not about my stuff, not about everyone's stuff, but about stuff that we all try to achieve all together. So that's the only slides I have. I tried to explain you in a couple of minutes what you can do with Teams and how important Teams is. So let's move on to the demo environment. Mike, can you just confirm me, how is the resolution on this screen?
It's a bit small.
A bit small. I knew it. Like, how is it now?
Good.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. So every single time when you will start an organization, well, you will be added into multiple teams. You can see like I have a bunch of those teams. Could be like this, or you could have nothing. And then they could ask you like, hey, Gokan, start with a team, encourage people to start collaborating because today everyone is working alone on their own corner. We want to have some teams. And easily, well, you can come here and create on join and create a team, and then you will see three major options. You can create a team, you can join a team with a code, or you can already join existing codes. I can join the M365 Ottawa Canada team. If I just hit on join, well, you will see that on the left side, my team will appear here. And if I open this, well, you will see that I have all of those channels and I can start collaborating on existing data. What you could easily say is, okay, I don't want to join any of those teams. I'll start a new one. And what you will now see is you get more options. You can create a team from scratch, from a group or a team, and then you get templates. I'm going to show you all of them. So if we start from scratch, well, it will ask you like, do you want to have a private one where people need to ask permission to join? It's going to be a public one, like all that you see on the screen now, like Zero T Hero, Digital Teams for AOS, SIA. Those are all public teams, or do you want to get an org-wide? So those two are the standard ones. The org-wide, not everyone can create an org-wide. An org-wide team is a team where everyone in the organization will be part of, and they cannot leave. It can take up to 5,000 people in that team, and you need to have a solid governance around that before pushing this. So we will just leave that alone, and I'll go for a private one. I'm going to give this a name, like Project Alpha, right? And I will create that, and I will count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. Within 5 seconds, while teams that finish the job, it asks me if I'd like to add some people. I'm going to skip that. And what you will now see is that my project alpha is done. And if I go under the files tab, well, you will see that the SharePoint site is provisioned. And if I open this, well, I will go to a brand new SharePoint site, which is called Project Alpha. And now within the documents folder, I have my files, which is phenomenal, right? Look what's going to happen now. If I open this and create a new one, but instead of doing it from scratch, I'm going to choose a template. I'm going to go for Adopt Office 365. It will show me like Gokan. This is like the channels you will have. This is all the apps connected to your channels. I'm hitting on next. I'm going to go for a private one. I'll give a name, Office 365 Champions. I can customize those channels. You know, I can just remove stuff. I can modify this. So what I will do, just leave it as it is and create and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And now it says, OK, cool. Feel free to close these windows and do other stuff. And what I don't really get with this is why it takes so much time while the first one only takes like a couple of seconds, while the second one with the template takes a lot of more time. Don't get me wrong, now it was extremely fast, the template one. Normally, what I've seen is it could take up to minutes before provisioning the sites. Now it was pretty fast. I have to admit that was really impressive, but normally it takes a lot of time before doing this. Then the final part of this is when you create a team, you can also do this from a group or a team. That's what we call the teamify or the teamify stuff. Like if you have a team, you can just copy one of those teams and create that one. Okay. Now you have your team. Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna create channels because you want to start collaborating. And what you can do is you can just come here on the three dots and add the channel. And then you can say, OK, this is my marketing channel. Fantastic. You can give a description and then you can leave it open as a standard. Then everyone from that team can see it, or you can create a private one. And remember, in the SharePoint, in the PowerPoint slide I showed you, a new SharePoint site will be created. So I'll leave it up for standard and then hit on add. What you will now see is my marketing will appear here. And if I come to my SharePoint and do a refresh, a new folder will be created. It is a correct statement to say that every channel is equal to a folder in SharePoint site, right? So that's a correct statement because every single time when I will create a channel, it will create a folder. So that literally means if I come into my SharePoint and create a new Word file, I will just leave it here, just random text, save it, close it, and do a refresh on my SharePoint. You will see I have a document. And if I come back to my marketing, do a refresh, come to my files, well, you will see my document is here. Remember, I said it is a correct statement, but I will show you that it's not always the case. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a new channel, but now Microsoft Teams will say, Gokan, you cannot do this because the channel name is already taken. No worries. What a lot of people are doing is they open the emoji bar. And now you can add some emojis like this. I'd like to discuss about the marketing and the budget around the marketing. And now suddenly the error has disappeared. So what I will now do is I will add this. Fantastic. My channel is now being created. And if I come to my SharePoint under my documents, well, strangely enough, there is no folder being created. And remember what I told you, every channel is equal to a folder. So let's go to my marketing dollar and see other files. And my gosh, there is already a document, which I never actually did create in this channel. And I know that whenever I create a channel, a new folder should be created, which should be empty. So let's make a test. I will just rename this doc $sign, right? Because this is a document that we see from the $sign. I'm going to save this. It has renamed. If I come to my marketing and go under files, well, you will see that this one appears here as well. So what happened in the backend is that the provisioning engine didn't really understand the $sign. And he said, OK, I already have a marketing folder, so let's use that one instead of creating a second one. So now you have two channels listening to one folder, which could be a potential issue for your business units, for business owners, because it's not like the way you would love to work with, right? And it also works the opposite way. So if I add something like this, budget, and then add a $sign. Now the first time, well, this will work because now it gets the budget with the $sign. If I go to my SharePoint and do a refresh, well, you will see that this is here, right? If I come back and add a new channel, which is called budget, which is completely different from the first one because I don't have the $sign. If I add this into my channel, well, what you will see is I have a new channel, but if I come just here and do a refresh, and now it's working. Then the question is, why didn't this work with the $sign? Well, that's a good question. I personally think that the ASCII code was not translated well to an icon into SharePoint. And please, I didn't test every single icon we have. You can just get the icon window by hitting window.comma. You have like 5,000 or 8,000 emojis available today. I didn't test all of them. So many of those are not translated by the provisioning engine. So it gives some issues, errors while you're using this in channel names. OK, one major drawback that we still have with Microsoft Teams is the following. Take the example that my colleagues does something like that. Gokan sucks project. which is fun, which is okay. You know, having fun at the organization is definitely okay. But it's an open team, your manager can see it, and I will ask you like, come on, Gokan, this is not fun. It's a professional environment. Rename this, please. Well, okay, I can do that. If you hit on the three dots and say like, okay, edit this channel, well, perfectly, you can like project beta, right? And if I save this, what you're gonna see is Teams did the change. From a Teams perspective, the Gokan sucks where is changed to project beta. However, if I come back to my SharePoint, well, you will see that is not taking consideration. Microsoft are working on this since 2 years, if I'm not wrong, because I provided this feedback like 2 years ago. I heard that it was on final stage and this is going to be released. There is also a message in the message center showing that this is going to be resolved soon. But today, it's still not the case. As you can see, you can still see the old folder name. What's really cool, what was not the case before, is if you go into the properties and if you change this, well, a few months ago, you could change this, right? Now, if you do that, it says, hey, you cannot change this because, oh, I went too fast. You cannot change this because it's a Teams connected channel. You can see to update this folder, go to the channel in Microsoft Teams. So they are doing some stuff. Microsoft is working in the backend, providing some better experience for the end users. But today, unfortunately, it's still not optimal. Yeah, okay. And it's also the same. I think you still cannot delete one of those folders, which you could do easily a few months ago. Today, you cannot delete anymore a folder into Teams. Then, from a channel perspective, again, what you could easily do is you could delete those channels. Great. But what people don't do is the following. They don't read what it's mentioning here. It says, hey, are you sure? All conversations will be deleted. However, your files are still accessible. I can delete those channels. And as a team owner, I can always come to my manage team, and then you will see a bunch of options appearing on the upper ribbon. I can see my owners. I can see my members and guests if I have. I can see the pending requests, as this is a private team. I can see people coming here. I can see my channels and bring some moderation, some governance, minimum governance around here, like should this be shown for everyone? Should it be shown for the members? What type of channels they are and the latest activity. And I also get the same options as I do if I click here. And then you see the deleted ones. I can restore channels. If I click on restore, well, you will see that the marketing $sign will appear here. Normally, Microsoft says, and if I'm not wrong, it is 27 or 29 days that you can keep channels into the deleted options. What I have seen, and I really hope this will work, let me just show that to you. So if I go to an existing one and go to manage my team, you will see under the channels, I have 0. So let's try this one. Hopefully, under this one, I will have manage my team under the channels. Do I have some deleted ones? 0. Come on. Nothing deleted here as well. So let me try to go manage team under the channels. Come on. That can be serious. The last one. I'll just check this one. No, I'm not going to add a channel. I just want to manage team. Go to the channels. Come on. OK, nothing. So basically what I tried to say, I had a few channels from 2 years ago, not a joke, 2 years ago, and I still could restore them. So Microsoft says it's 29 or 27 days, but it looks like you still can restore channels, which is like longer than that period. Just wanted to say that. OK, if you then continue on the manage team, well, you have your channels where you can actually restore them. And you have a bunch of settings. And this is where the fun part starts. You can choose for a team's picture. You can then bring some moderation to the permissions, like you can allow members to create private channels, or you can allow members to delete and restore channels, and so on and so on. So as an owner, please have a look to those options and see what your members can do. Guest permissions. It's not as much as the member. The member is someone from the organization. A guest is someone from outside the organization who is part of your team. You can also enable or disable dimensions. You can allow or disallow the fun stuff, which a lot of organizations don't really allow is. And then the two part that we will deep dive now is the team code and the tags. The team code is something random generated by Microsoft Teams that will help you for share this team across the organization. So if you hit on generate, a code will be done for you and you can share this code with anyone in the organization. They can copy this and then come here, and remember this case, they can just paste this here, they can join the team. So that's how you do basically. And if you share this, everyone can join your team. You can not change this. Well, you can reset this, right? You can just get a new one. But by changing, I mean you cannot choose a password over team code that you want to see. You cannot make it like Gokan's team as a code. It's something that Microsoft decides for you. You can just copy, remove, reset, or get this in a full screen, which is extremely useful if you're presenting and you want people to join your team so you can show them stuff going on. And then tags. Tags is something that I really, really love with Microsoft Teams. I'm going to come under my project alpha, and then you see under the three dots, you have the tags. You can create a new tag, and then you can give it a name. I'll do it, the SharePoint admins. Oh, let's make the Teams admins. Then you can give a description and add people. So I'm going to add Gokan as a Teams admin here, and then create a tag. I will create a new one, and I will call it the marketing admins. Again, you can bring some description, add people. I'm just adding Gokan because I have no one else in the organization. So I'm going to just do budget. We did choose right budget, and then also add Gokan. So those are tags, and tags are meant that in a conversation, if you start a new conversation, and you can just say something like this, new CEO, right? And then you can blah, 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 blah. And then you can just bring some tags here. If I hit on budget, you will see that I have 3 different budgets: budget channel, and budget tag. So you can start your conversation, build all the text, and you want to tag this. And then I'm going to choose for marketing, and then say also the Teams admins. Right? So those are the tags that we just create. And if I just hit on send, well, you will see that everyone which is part of that team will normally get a notification here saying that, hey, you have been tagged in this post and please have a look. This is phenomenal for a good collaboration. However, this is extremely bad for the following scenario. If you tag this, take the example, you got a new CEO, and you have to make a super long announcement. And what I will do is the following: budget, this one, marketing, and marketing. So I am the one which did create the channels and the tags, which is extremely easy for me to understand which one is a channel, which one is a channel. I can because I know it, but someone which is new in the team, which has no clue idea what's going on, if you tell them to do this, well, they will get lost, because from a visual perspective, there is no difference between a tag, a channel, or a person. They're all blue. They only get a different color if you do send them. Like now I can see that the budget is a channel and that the red ones are actually a tag. So what I aim to say to my customers is, if they come to the tags, please don't use words like this. What I aim to say to them is modify this and bring the hashtag. Well, I did say that. Should you use that like this? No, because I recently learned that Microsoft for syntax for the new module in Microsoft Viva topics, well, they use also this system. I was referring this for almost a year to the customers to use a hashtag because it's extremely easy now. If you start a new conversation and say, OK, I have a hashtag, and now you will see all the tags, or like if I just come here just to make the example more concrete, I'm going to modify this as well. I'm going to make the marketing admins with a hashtag. and then change this as well. Right? Now I have hashtags, and now even the end user, which has no idea what's going on, if they started their test and hit on the hashtag, well, they will get a list of all the hashtags. And now I know that if I just hit on this, I have two different words within blue. The one is a tag because it has a hashtag in front. The other one is a team or a channel because it's a blue color. So visually, it's more appealing. But again, the hashtag was one of those examples I was giving to the customers. You can use something else. Don't use the hashtag anymore because Viva Topics is using it, unfortunately. But you could use your imagination to actually bring that tags to a next level. Okay. Next. So conversations, one of the phenomenal stuff that we have at Microsoft is that you can start a conversation. What I've seen a lot in organization, people doing this. Hi. If a question. Now, like they just start the conversation like this, which is horrible, but really horrible. I really hate people doing this. So you need to educate them. You need to show them that they can, if they hit on that format option, well, they can have more options like they do, like they have in Word. They can add a subject, new CEO, and then they can start writing, hey, Mike has been fired and Gokan is the new CEO. That could be the text. And then you can, as in Word, like select your word, make it bold, make this in italic, and so on and so on. That's the basic stuff. What really gets interesting is the following. You have here the code snippet, which I really love and use every single day in my career. You can add some intelligence into your code. So let's go for HTML. You can add a code into your combo. You can start this, and look what's going to happen. If I close my HTML tag, this should close, and it doesn't. That's strange. Let me try again. HTML, body. Okay, so weirdly enough, this doesn't work anymore. Okay, never mind. Normally, there is some intelligence into Microsoft Teams where you can actually add code, and that intelligence will make it actually very fancy and cool looking for you. If I look, okay, doesn't do really much, but normally within the code snippet, that code will be automatically adapted for you. So if you close the bracket from HTML, it will close the HTML just for you, but that's really interesting. And on the top of the conversation, you have three options. You can make this as a new conversation or a new announcement, and you get the more options here. You can have some headlines. Gokan is the new CEO of Microsoft, as an example. You can add an image and you can change the color. Moderation, extremely important. It could be that Gokan is not famous in the organization, or that Mike was one of those guys that everybody loved and you want to avoid some bad commands. So what you can do is you can say, okay, I'd like to only me and the moderators can reply on this, or everyone can reply on this. And please never use this. The post in multiple channels, this will bring a lot of confusion to everyone, because you can choose every single channel. You can go to any other team and post this, right? So what you will now see is all the channels where I'm going to push this. And now if I come to the general, you will see here, I got a new icon which says, okay, it is pushed like everywhere. But the bad thing with that is if I just say, ha ha ha, so happy Mike is out, like there is no moderation, so people can write anything herein. Well, you will see, okay, I have a command, but if I come to another channel, well, that command is not synced. I cannot see that command just herein. So that's also one of the major drawbacks we have within the conversation part in Microsoft Teams, is that not everything is synced. And if you publish this up to 20 channels, well, your manager could ask you like, okay, could you show me how people did react or what feedback we got? Well, now you have to go to every single channel, copy the command and make a report manually, which I think is not a good choice, right? Okay. Now, we know that you can start a conversation. We know that you have a bunch of options that you can publish those anywhere. But if you start a new conversation, on the bottom, you have like a bunch of other options. You can attach some files, emojis, gifs. One of the things I really love with that is that you can, make some fun, and you can even customize of those gifs. You can say, welcome, Gokan, right? There we go. And then you can add this into your conversation. And if you send this, boom, that will come into your conversation. Nothing rocket science. One of the major things I really love was the whiteboard capability. So you have two ways on using the whiteboard capability. One, you could do just here the meet now, or you can schedule a meeting. So let's go for the meet now, and I will just allow this for and continue without the audio. So now basically I'm in a meeting, right? And I can start collaborating with people into my meeting. One of the major advantages I had with whiteboard until we got the new one is that you could actually use whiteboard in a team. And we went away from the classic sharing experience where I talk and people listen. Well, with whiteboard, everyone works on the same file. So I could easily add an image, a template, just I don't know, like a strategy template just here. And then people from somewhere else, they can easily collaborate with me on that meeting. And if I'm done with my meeting, I can just stop presenting, I can close this, and this will be saved into my whiteboard app, as well as if I still have it here, whiteboard, there we go. And also in my whiteboard Windows 10 app. So I just need to go away from this, connect with the test environment, admin at xgokan.tk was it, if I'm not wrong. The password, I'm gonna connect with this. Come on. Admin X connecting. Nope. And now, hopefully, like you would see the whiteboard coming here into my app. So that means that if I did miss the meeting or I don't have access to Teams for any reason, I still can come into the whiteboard app and still see the whiteboard loading here. It takes a while to load. I don't know what's happening, but that's the reason why I'm saying like I was in love with the whiteboard meeting until Microsoft did a mess. And I really hope there is no one from Microsoft in the meeting, but they just, went to a next level of whiteboard, which still takes a lot of time to bring all the capabilities we had. One of the things I loved was the ink, the magic ink mode, where you could actually incorporate an image into your whiteboard, which we still today do not have. Then you can add a bunch of options. You can add a Power App, a list. You can add the whiteboard app that we did, the Viva Learning, and so on. One of the things I'm going to show you is the following. You can add a Power App into your team. That connector will make a connection to your Power App if you have the licenses and bring all the applications you have. You can just come here, select the application, and then within your Microsoft Teams, you can actually see the app here. Well, this is the connector. You can also do this with SharePoint. You can customize the SharePoint form and then bring it here. And you can see your app just from Microsoft Teams. You can also build a new app and show it here, or on the left side, you can use the app, the PowerApps app. Every single time when you build an app within Teams, it will create a Dataverse environment for you in the backend. So if I just start now here, well, you will see, okay, it will ask me, Gokan, where do you want to create your app in Microsoft Teams? Okay, I have my project alpha. Let's create my environment just there. Now, the Teams environment will, thanks to PowerApps within the backend, create an environment for me in Dataverse, and now I'll be able to use and consume from that Dataverse into my Microsoft Teams. Now, as you can see, it says, hey, it's a success. You can use this. Now I'm being redirected within my Microsoft Teams environment to Dataverse. And I know we have like 4 minutes left, so I really hope we can just finish on time. Now you get the PowerApps Designer. I'm pretty sure everyone who has the accesses have played with that. So I can start my project alpha. I can save this. And now you can build your Power App, which is connected to a Dataverse from Microsoft Teams. The project is now being saved. I can add a lot of components. If you come here on the plus button, you can add a label, a form, you can add a button. What I really love to add is a slider. I got my slider just here. There we go, could be my option. And I have a minimum value of 10 and the maximum could be 100. There we go. And now if I preview this, well, my app basically is a slider where I can go from 0 or from 10 to 100, which is basic, which is an app, right? You can build, you can even go to custom connector source, and you can even bring data from SharePoint. So I can just click on SharePoint as a connector. I can connect to on-premises or the cloud. I'll choose for the cloud because I don't have a gateway, and you can search for sites. Take the example that you want to get data from any site. Let's go for 0 to hero. I have my air travel list. I can connect on top of that. And here I have my connection. So easily I can just come and remove this on top and then bring the edit form just here and connect that form here to my SharePoint connection, right? So I can say here, connect data source. I like to have air travel. And now, normally it should get all the lists. And let me show which fields. There is no field. So let's go for attach, create, I don't know, like ID, maybe. And let's see what I get. So I have my list, which comes from SharePoint, and I have the attachment created an ID. So every single time when someone will add the data into air travel into my SharePoint, I'll be able to see it from here. So take the example that the project is done. Well, what you need to do is publish it to Teams, and now it will save. You have to hit on next. And this is a tricky part, which I always forget, is that you have to select your tab, and not just by selecting, you have to hit on plus. So I'll choose for the general, and now you can see it's on the Project Alpha General. I will save and close. Now the Dataverse-based application is now pushed to my environment. Okay. Normally this is done. If I come to my Teams, under the General, I have the Project Alpha. This is the project we've been doing. And now you get my application, which I have the slider, which comes from 10 to 100. And then I have my edit form where you can get the data, which doesn't have any data. And that's the reason why you see getting data, but this should pull data, get data from the SharePoint list if I had to. So extremely easy. You can just start a new conversation. You can start with tagging, create teams. You can add a bunch of applications, connectors from the tab. Could be a Word file, a Visio, a PDF, Viva Learning modules, or you can even build your applications from PowerApps and bring that into Microsoft Teams. This was a 45-minute non-stop French guy trying to explain you how Microsoft Teams was doing. Mike, I really hope that this was a good session and was not that bad, and that people could at least enjoy and learn something.
Yeah, it was an awesome session, except for those announcements about me. It was okay.
Okay. So, do we have questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's fantastic then. I think then we can wrap it up from here. I think I have one slide to show, and that's the code, this one, right? So people can scan and make a chance to win a code of $50. And please don't forget to submit your rating and how you found about this session. So this will help the organizers and me as well to improve myself and to bring better sessions for the attendees. Thank you so much. Merci, arigato, teşekkürler.
One
Bedankt.
comment.
Yeah.
There's one
cool.
comment. Someone's asking a bit more clarification on tags.
On what?
Tags.
On tags. Let me have a look on the chat. Clarification. So what kind of clarification, Bernice, do you want to see or hear from me? Because tags are actually a word where you can attach some people, and every single time when you mention that word into a command, people will get notifications. Remember, I created a word which is called Teams admins, and then I added people into that Teams admins. Every single time when you mention Teams admins, well, people will get notifications and they will be tagged into. Okay, under managed teams, you said something what is not a good idea? Cool. Okay, now I get. Cool. So what I said into the tags is the following. What I said to my customers is use the hashtag in front of the tag. Now you can create a tag, which could be like budget, and then you can add people, but it's not that visual when you write a text. People get lost because they don't know the difference between a tag, a channel, a team, a person. So I said from a visual perspective, add a tag. Until last month, I said it's a bad idea to do that because Microsoft is using the hashtag for Viva Topics. So whenever a topic page is created from Viva, it will have a hashtag in front automatically. So you'll bring more confusion because people will say, okay, a hashtag was tags, now it's topics. So, to avoid confusion, if you didn't start with hashtags in tags, please don't use it. That was the bad stuff I said in my session. Sorry if that wasn't clear enough. Does that respond to the question, Bernice? Okay, if there are no more questions, Mike, I think we can stop it here, stop the recording and enjoy the conference so people can take a few minutes of break before the following session, right?